I've read and watched a lot online that has said that living in Spain is cheap as a foreigner and that you can get by with just over $1,000 a month. Well, I decided to track my spending for 30 days to see what it actually cost me to live here in Malaga, Spain. And the number was higher than expected. So let me share it with all of you. Hey everyone, welcome back. Now, I've been wanting to make this video for a while as a lot of people have been asking me, what does it actually cost to live in Spain? And specifically, I'm gonna go over what an average month looks like for me living here in Malaga, Spain. And we're gonna go into the specifics of what my actual monthly breakdown costs look like so you understand the real picture. Now, we're gonna get the big one out of the way first, and that is, well, where you live, rent. My rent comes to roughly about 1,200 euros a month or about 1,400 US dollars. And what that gets me is a 1-bedroom loft apartment here in Malaga Centro. And for me right now, this is enough space. The loft bedroom provides me privacy, and the grand room is more than enough space where I can live and work and entertain a few guests. Also, it does come with an excluded rooftop terrace, which for me is a great way to get and enjoy the cityscapes and also read a book every now and again. Now, your price is really gonna come down to where you choose to live and what you need. For me, I live alone and just have pets, and that's enough. But for some people, they might want extra bedrooms or more space or an outdoor area, and it really does come down to location, location, location. It doesn't feel complete to talk about rent if I also don't talk about the bills associated with it. So utilities, internet. So for example, I pay a separate electric bill, which on average can be anywhere from about 60 US dollars all the way close to 200. In the summer and winter months, it's definitely higher, and it really comes down to my energy usage. My internet and my cell phone are bundled and always stay the same. I pay about 37 US dollars for both. Now for the last bill, that's water. And water typically only runs me about, well, say maybe 30 US dollars a month. I don't use a lot of water, so sometimes it's even cheaper than that. So that covers kind of the general cost of living: rent, utilities, water, the things that I need to not just live here, but also work and thrive. And that equates to about $1,600 a month, which is still easily about $500 to $600 cheaper than what I was paying back in the US. Now let's get to the next section, which is food and everyday life. So generally speaking, on groceries, I spend anywhere from about $250 to $300 a month. It really depends on a few factors: which supermarket I choose to shop at. If I go to the Mas Supermercado, if I go to Mercadona, if I go to Lidl, there's various different chains here, and the prices do vary, and it can help to shop around. But it is true what they say, that the produce tends to be not just high quality, but also quite affordable. And it makes eating healthy and on a budget quite easy. Now, what about when I don't want to cook or eat at home? Well, I like to go out to eat, and there's a lot of wonderful places here. And on average, I budget around $300 a month for eating out and drinks with friends. And this month I went a little over. I was around 325 due to events and just other fun summer activities. But depending on where you go, if you eat lunch out, you might be able to get a menu del dia for about 15 or 16 US dollars. And this usually comes with a starter, a main dish, as well as a drink and a coffee or something like that. And for dinner or tapas, again, you could spend anywhere from, for tapas, going out for tapas, that's not gonna run you all that much. But for dinner, well, it really just depends where you're going. You could get dinner anywhere from, 12 US dollars all the way up to 30, 40 or more, depending on where you're eating. So it really just depends your food preferences and how much you're willing to go out. Now, here's the rest, and that's everyday things. Like if I need to order something online or I need something for the home, that can fall into a shopping or budget category. I also loop in my gym membership as well there. So shopping this month, I spent a little over 100 US dollars, which is around what I budget. And then I also typically spend about 35 US dollars on my gym membership. So when it all comes together, this kind of food and everyday life kind of comes to about 600, maybe 700 US dollars. Now, this next one is transportation and getting around. Can you guess? This month I spent $10. Before I moved here, I used to own a car. I had to pay for gas, oil changes, maintenance, you name it, car insurance. I don't have that anymore. So all of my travel expenses come down to public transit or my feet. I get around using the cercanías, the buses, the metro, and I walk most places. Usually my most expensive time is if I take a regional bus somewhere, and that might be 20 euros, or if I take the long distance high-speed trains. But otherwise, my budget typically is actually only about $10 a month for public transit. And this over a year saves me several thousands of dollars since I no longer have car insurance, maintenance fees, or gas or petrol. So it's a pretty nice trade-off. Now, this next section I want to talk about often gets overlooked online, and that is the healthcare, legal, and taxes. So starting off with healthcare, I pay a flat fee of roughly $103 a month into the Spanish Social Security system. And this is what gives me access to the Spanish healthcare system, which for me, as a relatively healthy person who thankfully doesn't have any other needs or healthcare issues, is more than enough. Now, that rate will change after 2 years and become variable based off of my income level. The next piece I want to talk about is legal and admin. So I pay roughly about $90 a month for a tax accountant. And this is someone who reviews my expenses each month, who helps file my quarterly taxes, and also communicates with me on potential savings areas for my month-to-month taxes. And as someone who doesn't know the system very well, it's worth every penny. Now, for taxes, this is the one area I'm not going to get specific on for my own privacy, but I pay a 21% flat rate on my income. So each month when I get paid, I take a percentage and put that into a separate account, which is always saved for my quarterly taxes and never gets touched. And I'm also able to take advantage of tax incentives between the US and Spain to reduce my US tax burden, since as a US citizen, I get the joy of filing my taxes every year. Yay! So, after tracking my expenses for 30 days, my total comes to $2,510 US, give or take. As a single person living here in Spain, in Malaga, I might see numbers online of you can get by with $1,600 a month or maybe about $2,300. So my spending is above that. However, that's the spending that I've budgeted for, and that allows me to live a lifestyle that I choose to live, which for me feels just right. Now, something I want to cover is there are certain areas that impact me that could not impact others. For example, I have pets. So each month I budget about $100 for pet care, food, etc. And whatever's left over gets rolled over to next month and creates an emergency fund in the event of any vet issues or emergencies. Now, what I want to highlight and remind you all is this is what it costs me to live here each month. This is not what my monthly salary or income is, nor is this my life after taxes. And one final note is that everything I've listed in terms of cost is in US dollar. But most of my expenses, like rent, are in euros. So I've done my best to convert those from euros to US dollars to give an accurate amount, because I get paid in US dollars and pay most of my life in euros. So that goes into my budgeting and how I calculate expenses. Now, as I've said before, everyone's situation is different. You could save money by having a flatmate, or reducing discretionary spending, or living in a cheaper area. Or you could spend way more if you wanted to live in a more expensive area, have more space, or go out more. But what I wanted to capture was what I spend roughly each month to live in Malaga, Spain. Now, the one thing a budget or spreadsheet does not capture is the priceless moments that you cannot put a dollar amount to, such as the local bartender that I know down at one of my favorite spots here in Centro, or the fact that I haven't spent any time in traffic in close to a year. It's moments like those that really are priceless, and to me make this whole experience worth it. So I'm curious, what does life cost where you're from? Leave it down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. And if you're new here or you're interested in these types of videos, give that like button a push. It really helps me out. And if you have ideas or want to know other things about my life in Spain, let me know. If you want to stay in touch, I have a newsletter that you can sign up for. I send it out each week. And if you want to watch more content like this, check out this video here. You might find it interesting. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.